Free agency is fun. It is a lot of fun for us fans. Rotisserie football, where everyone's moving, all the huge ass numbers flying around, especially since the salary cap is back to where it once belonged pre-COVID. And I understand it's exciting to try and win the Super Bowl in March, except it really doesn't work out that much. Plus, no one talks about this. Like, everyone talks about draft busts being harmful to the franchise. Like, so what? You miss on a draft pick, you get more. If you bust in free agency, not only do you miss on a player, but you have substantial financial ramifications tied up in that player and him being very poopy. Quite bad. So take a look at two teams diverged into wood in terms of where they went in free agency. The Jaguars, they were championes of March free agency spending. They got after it, man. They doled out $158.375 million in total guarantees in free agency, which is just crazy. It's not even counting franchise tagging Cam Robinson, which is just where the Vikings, with new general manager Kwesi adofo-mensah, Mr. Moneyball, that's right, because not only did Kwesi learn some of the Moneyball principles with the Niners, but especially with the Browns, with Andrew Berry and Paul DePodesta, who is literally the Jonah Hill character from Moneyball, the movie. He's also in the book. Book is fantastic, by the way. Anyway, so the Vikings have been very much value shoppers. Like, the Jaguars were Lunds and Byerly, and the Vikings were Aldi. Actually, not even Lunds and Byerly. We'll say high V, but at Lunds and Byerly prices, or Cub, or whatever. Anyways, local grocery store illusions aside, the Vikings have been value added because for all the players that they've signed, Zadarius Smith, Harrison Phillips, Jordan Hicks, Patrick Peterson they brought back, Jesse Davis, Johnny Munt, Chris Reed, who isn't on the books quite yet. As of right now, pending on the Schlottman and the Reed contracts, the Vikings have only given out $37.842 million in fully guaranteed contracts in free agency. The Jaguars gave up $37 million guaranteed to Christian Kirk alone, which is just crazy, man. Now, teams that generally spend up big in free agency generally have to. That's why the Jaguars, that's why the Jets, that's why teams that generally have not done so well, they have to spend money in free agency, because free agency is a tax on not being able to draft well. And even though, the Jaguars and the Jets have had a lot of high draft picks, some of them don't pan out so much. Now, the Patriots last offseason trying to turn the paradigm a little bit, because you have this good team, even though they missed the playoffs 2 years ago, spending a lot in free agency, and they did, they're trying to rebuild from the ashes of Tom Brady, so maybe that's a misnomer, maybe that's an outlier, but just going through, I prefer the Viking strategy. I really do, because I think that free agency is all about supplementation, because you pick up free agents for need, and then you draft BPA. That's how it should work, and that's how it could work. And frankly, I love the way that Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell and crew have gone through free agency, and they found a lot of value-added free agents. And if you go back to Moneyball, like, their big principle was, hey, these guys have production, but for whatever reason, they have fallen through the cracks, both in the draft as well as free agency, whether that free agent is coming off an injury, or draftable players coming off an injury, or they don't check all the boxes measurement-wise, or maybe they're a little bit older when it comes to free agency, sure. And the Vikings have done a great job with that. Like Zadarius Smith, his 3-year, $42 million deal, which only has $11.5 million guaranteed. They could get out of it after 1 year, $9.5 million. So with Zadarius, he has a chance to reascend and become that Pro Bowl player that he once was. And he's coming off that back injury, but he played fantastic in the divisional round game against the Niners, where the Packers lost. But it wasn't because of Zadarius Smith. So I think that he has a chance to be a absolute stud in the new defense, and the Vikings got a steal. Harrison Phillips was an undervalued guy because he doesn't really have a true position, seen as more of a utility guy. But I think with the Vikings, that utilitiness is going to have a lot of utility because of the Vikings playing multiple fronts. They're going to play 4-man down. They're going to play 3-man lines, and Harrison Phillips can play all along every single position, which is fantastic. Also, his leadership, heart and hustle, getting after. Jordan Hicks has been aged out a little bit, but he's still an absolute tackling machine. Plus, his coverage isn't such a liability that you're going to take him off the field. So you're getting a 3-down Great leader, tackle machine linebacker for $5 million a year. Patrick Peterson, same thing. A little bit of age, also a little bit of injury, taking a little bit of luster off the future Hall of Famer. Probably first ballot, but he's coming back on a discounted rate because he sees what the Vikings are building here, which is fantastic. They got Jesse Davis, who is coming off a terrible season, but he was playing out of position at right tackle, potentially working him back in at guard. That's where they find more value. Chris Reed as well. I think is going to be value either way whenever they announce the contract. So Shondon Sullivan, Nate Hairston has experience with Ed Donatel and company. So I love the Vikings free agency class, and the fact that they got all these guys at a discounted rate is fantastic. And I'm not hating on the Jaguars. Like I'm rooting for them. Like I want them to do well for Duval and Dougie and Trevor Lawrence and whatnot. But some of these contracts are just Lulu insane, man. Like Christian Kirk, I don't know. Props for him for getting the bag, man. But boy, man, rough. I don't know. And Scherf, I've wanted Scherf forever, man. But 3 years, $49.5 million with $30 million guaranteed. I was not ready to go that far for a 30-year-old guard who has had a history of injuries. Like I just wasn't. And then stealing Oku from the Falcons, as well as Darius Williams coming over from the Rams. There's some big guarantees, man. Fudukasi, the nose tackle, coming down from the Jets. Zay Jones, Evan Ingram. They gave a pretty hefty 1-year deal to Laquan Treadwell. Arden Key, they gave $3 million guaranteed to. So that's a lot of guaranteed money flying around. And I understand that Jacksonville traditionally has not been an NFL powerhouse, but no state income tax in the great state of Florida. And you would think that maybe that might help, but every single year it seems like the Jaguars are just doling out big money for free agents, and it just doesn't, it has not worked. It certainly has not panned out. Now, maybe this could change things. I don't know. But again, reiterate this. Free agency is a tax on teams that don't draft well and don't assemble a team well. Again, free agency should be supplementation. You shouldn't be building your team through free agency. You build your team through the draft, and everything else through free agency is just the accoutrement. Like you get the steak in the draft, you get the potatoes, you get the A1, you get the capers. A good steak doesn't need A1, but you know what I mean. You get all that in free agency. You get everything else. You get the sauteed mushrooms, or in season to get the morels. Baby, you ever had a thick ass ribeye, beautiful crust on the outside, medium rare with some sauteed morels? Ooh, baby. Yeah, you get the morels in free agency. You get the steak. You get the dry aged ribeye in the draft. That's how it should be. But some teams, they do it backwards, but I will certainly go with Kwesi's Moneyball strategy and free agency going forward. I love it, man. Anyways, let us know your thoughts on our thoughts. Jaguars, big Moneyball, or Vikings, little Moneyball? What do you want to do? What do you prefer? Let us know in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work, put a little something in the Venmo. But till next time, Skol, production value.